Good morning and welcome. We are very glad you're here with us this morning. The slide you have in front of you is just another reminder of all of our wonderful CARE seminars. Please remember to register for, we've got quite a few more coming up for any of them that interest you. And also please remember that we are still taking the CARES applications. And that is going to be an opportunity for you and your small business to receive at no cost to you some specialized training from so many of our experts like Ms. Williams here that have been helping us. And we would love to see if we can help your small business further. So please don't hesitate. Fill out that application and tell us how we might be able to help you, because we would love to. So moving on, welcome to the 6-step process to successful food and beverage business management. My name is Betsy Coulter. I am with the Collin SBDC, and we are thrilled to have Deegan Williams with us this morning. This will be an interactive session. Please feel free to use the chat, ask questions, make comments. I think, Deegan really wants to hear where you're coming from and how she can help you best this morning. It will also be recorded and will be uploaded onto our YouTube channel, usually within just a few hours or always within a day or so. So you'll have it. There may be a lot of information and you're going to want to go back and look at it again, and you feel free to do that. So let me introduce Deegan. Deegan Williams, proprietor of Culinary Business Strategy, is a chef and food business consultant who uses broad and deep industry knowledge to help her clients realize their success. Deegan completed culinary school at La Vergne in Paris, followed by an intensive apprentice program, all the while eating her way through Paris and the European continent. Deegan was in the first wave of American women to work their way up the kitchen ladder in high-end kitchens. She began her culinary education as the executive chef at the Heritage House at the age of 24. Later rounded out her culinary education with a BA in sociology and an MBA with an emphasis in entrepreneurship and marketing. She has 20 plus years of experience as an executive chef, event planner, business owner, and business development specialist. And since 2008, Deegan Williams is using all of that experience and all of that knowledge to work with clients to help them improve and enhance their operating systems and to help establish positive strategic connections so that her clients can be successful. And we are thrilled to have her. So Deegan, it's all yours.
Good morning, Betsy. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so very much for your kind and generous words. I'm so grateful to be here. And for everybody that's participating, I am very excited to be here. And like Betsy said, I absolutely want to hear from you in this. I want this to be an interactive seminar because I want it to work for you and to help your business moving forward. So let's just start out with, again, this is the 6-step process for successful food business management. And the main thing to remember there to get is successful food business management or successful management. Like, how are you going to be successful as a business? This is designed to help you with that successful management. But actually what's really important is because I am a chef by trade, gone business consultant, and so many people start out, most people don't get into this industry because they want to manage. They get into this industry because they believe in hospitality, because they're compelled to move and serve people great food and drink. And so let's rephrase that. This is the 6-step process for running a great business while serving great food. Or in this case, where we are now, this is also the 6-step process for running a great business while serving great food through a global pandemic, right? So let's get really specific because there are a lot of extenuating circumstances that happen in this industry. So that's who we are, and that's what we're doing today. I am grateful that you're here. Please feel free to use the chat. Betsy is gracefully managing the webinar on the back end so that I can be present with you. So please feel free to pop your questions into the chat or raise your hand to let us know when there's a time that there's something that you want to talk about, because I'm going to start out with asking you to either ask yourself or to share with us to know why you are here today. Why have you chosen to invest your time here? And what is it that you hope to get out of this session? And how can I best be of service to you? What works for you? What is the problem or the challenge that you're looking for that you brought into this that you're hoping that this session will help solve? I want to hear that because I want to make sure that we are going towards what you need. This is the 6-step process. It's a process that one can use when starting out or at any time to kind of shore up and refine into one's business. So if you have anything, please feel free to put into the chat and Betsy will send it over to me. In the meantime, hi, my name is Deegan Williams. I always feel odd with this slide with a picture of myself, like you don't need to look at me in that many directions. But anyway, my name is Deegan Williams. I'm the founder and owner of Culinary Business Strategy. I'm a chef and an MBA. So I'm kind of like a cook with a knife roll and a calculator at the same time, right? Like I've spent my entire professional world in that arena of balancing those two things. This is my deep-seated industry. This is where I go. This is my arena. The intersection between food, people, and business is where I thrive. And I hope this is where I get to serve you.
You know, Deegan, just the first comment that came through in the chat was in regards to growing their business. Now, I mean, you say grow business and then run smoothly. Are all of you currently have restaurants or food businesses and you're trying to kind of figure out how to get through this pandemic, or kind of let us know
right?
If everybody's just looking to grow or looking to survive, or how else we can help you.
You know, Betsy, that's a great comment, very great question, because I actually do very much use those terms interchangeably, and perhaps it's not fair to say run or grow. I guess when I use them, I say growing is getting to a place where one is running smoothly. And if one is running smoothly, then how do we move forward from there?
Okay, well, and that popped up a couple more. Let me share these.
Okay.
One, Tamara says she's trying to get the steps to open a restaurant within a year. So she's in those starting steps. And then here also own a current business, but interested in a little bit of help with some pricing strategies.
Okay,
that seems
great.
to be, yeah, pretty universal. A pretty universal need.
It really is, especially now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tamara, trying to get the steps to open a restaurant within a year. So this is super helpful. Both of them. So I can address both of those. And Ashley, you sit tight. I got you. But Tamara, you can use everything in this. I won't be using the language of in the future. I'll be using the language of right now. But it's actually the same absolute process. You can use the same process. And this is a model that you can, especially from the handout and from the slides in the recording, this is a model that you can take with you moving forward. So those that are already in business and those that are looking to be in business, or those that are starting right now, the thing is that you can certainly use, change the tense, but there you go. So this is all about you. And for anybody in this, I will stop and look at the chat, and I look, Betsy's face from time to time. I can kind of tell when she's like, Deegan, stop talking. I want to say something. I'll check in, but we really want this to be specific for you, because I can talk to a redwood tree if need be, right? Like I've been doing this my entire life. So interrupt me and let me make this about you and not about me, because I mean, I can talk on this subject all day, every day. It is my thing. So we can certainly win pricing strategies. That's a broad range, but actually I'd be happy to jump in and get specific. The other thing I want to say is you guys do have a ton of resources, right? You have the notes from this webinar, specifically the notes leading into this, so that you can download it and jot down your questions to jog your memory. Secondarily, you can also, you have a workbook that comes along with this, which is a massive 25-page workbook that went out that you can kind of, it gives you the action items on how to move forward. Not just take in the knowledge, but how do you actually put this into action? And I am going to be sprinkling resources throughout the entire webinar. So if your specific question doesn't get answered here, there are opportunities. I give you guys an opportunity to kind of jump in and get in touch with me where I can be of service to you. And I'll just tell you right away, the fastest way to get my attention these days, if you want, is to jump into the DMs on Instagram. I'm Culinary Business Strategy, and frankly, that is where I'm spending all my time these days. So if you jump into the DMs, it's the fastest way to get me, but I'm going to sprinkle it out through. So great. Are there more coming in before I keep going? Uh-oh, Betsy, it looks like you're muted.
Sorry. Yes, one more that came through. Kara says, my brother and I are opening our first tropical smoothie cafe franchise. Our goal is to get this one running and then open 10 or more, hopefully successfully in the future. So again, just trying to gain as much knowledge as they can to realize their dream and to be successful.
Okay, great. That's perfect. I would love to talk about that. Great. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so grateful that you are all here. Thank you for your time and your attention. Let's start out. My housekeeping is a little bit different because I, have the lovely Betsy who's handling the back end of everything and doing that kind of housekeeping, but I'm going to give you a little bit more round of housekeeping specifically for this seminar. I want to know that this is for you if you want to successfully manage a thriving food business. Again, past, current, or future. But more importantly, it's about you successfully managing rather than the business running you or the business managing you. So that's who this is for if you want to. But let's talk about my promise to you in this webinar. In this webinar, I am going to offer you my proprietary 6-step process for surviving and thriving while making great food and drink. I will share that process with you. I will also, within that, we're going to talk about the 5R framework, which is also a proprietary method, and the tripod of success. Frankly, I don't know anything that, I have the gift of a ton of experience and the opportunity to have worked literally with thousands of food and beverage business owners. And so you guys all have like your one business, and I have a whole bunch of businesses. So you know your smoothie operation, or you know that menu that you hope to open in a year, like the back of your hand in ways that I can't, but I've had the opportunity to work with thousands of people across the board. So it gives me the opportunity to come up with, like, I keep hearing the same questions or the same knowledge over and over. And then that means I can make up these frameworks. I come up with the idea of how to hold the framework, because something named can be something tamed. If we have a framework for it, we can wrap our mind around it. So we'll have the 5R framework and the tripod of success. And I can also promise you that I will make at least one mistake. We're lucky if it's only one. I will have a typo, or I will stutter, or I will mix a metaphor. That's my classic one. I get talking so fast, I get so wrapped up in a presentation that I mix a metaphor, something like that. So what we know from that is the mistake is over here, so you can relax. Please sit back and enjoy, learn, be served. Let me help you. In this process, let me serve you, because if you're in the hospitality industry, you spend a lot of time serving others. I want to make sure that we have the opportunity for you to be served. And I'm going to ask in this time together that you give me the opportunity to be of service to you. So this is my 6-step process for the outstanding food business management. You notice that the words are changing slightly each time, and that's really intentional, because it's the concept that I want to get through more so than, is it growing? Is it surviving? Is it thriving? It is success by your definition. And in this process, we're also going to look at including the 4 most common and avoidable food business mistakes that cost time and money. I say 4, but I added on a 5th. But we're going to look at those and like what is happening over and over. So that's what we're going to look at. And this 6-step process is something that you can use all the time. The 5R framework, what we'll get into and how that can impact your business, and the tripod of success. However, this webinar is for you if you want to find an easier, more effective, and successful way of running your business instead of the frustration of always working and barely making a living. If you want your business to be more profitable, if you're not quite sure if your business is making money or not, and if you find it hard to take time off, if these or things like these sound familiar, then this is for you. If you're not really sure where you are, or you're frustrated where you are, this is built to give you some systems and tools so that you can be more successful. And I try and avoid the term more successful because it's on a continuum. There's kind of we all have entrepreneurs, we all have shame of that if we're not successful enough, right? And so with that, success is really about your definition of success. I know for myself, I'll just share one of my personal challenges is that I am super driven and focused, not because I'm a better person, it's just literally how I was wired. And so one of the things that I do is I get stuff done, but I always constantly move the goalpost on myself, which is not so great, right? I move the goalpost and I'm therefore never succeed internally. I never have a sense of success. And I had to realize that that's what I was doing, about how I was constantly moving the goalpost away. It motivated me, but I never felt like I succeeded. So it's really important that we take a moment to figure out what success is for you in your business so that we can help you get there. Because if it's just this ambiguous success, it's not going to work. However, this webinar is not for you if you believe that this is just a tough industry and that's the way it's always going to be. And if you're not willing to learn and apply new tools to your management style, I'll be honest with you guys, as a private consultant in my consultancy, I've met with people who are like, want me to help fix their food and beverage business, but aren't willing to grow and change. And I can't do that for you. There's 2 things I can't do. I can't have the dream for you. I need that from you. You tell me what your dream is and I can help you get there. And then the second one that I can't do is, I can't try new things. And I know what it's like to try new things. I have a business coach as well. And it is inspiring and wonderful. And it's also uncomfortable to have somebody say, hey, have you thought about this? So, and the other thing is, if you hate the business and just want out, I've met people and that are like that. They're just like, they've been doing it forever. Maybe if it's time, it's okay. And that's certainly true after this 2020, right? I mean, some people are just like, I am done. And that's okay. I can't save your business if you don't want to, but I can help you if you do want to. This is a depressing slide. We're going to move off of it really quickly and get into the other stuff that's more uplifting. And if you're not currently in the hospitality industry, this is my industry. This is what I know, and this is how I can help. And above all, are you willing to invest in yourself and believe in your own success? That is key. While there is no magic, if there were magic, that's where it is. Your willingness to invest in yourself and believe in your own success. So the watching tips and an invitation, like I said before, let me be of service to you. Allow yourself to be served and use a beginner's mind. A beginner's mind is to get curious. Because I know that your business life is all about you being in charge and you taking care of others. And let me take charge, let me lead, and you can listen and learn. And that will give you the opportunity so much more to see what the questions are coming up for you. I'd like to take this moment to ask all of you that are with us, and you can share it or not, it's up to you. Of course, I would love to know about it, but I don't have to, is why are you here and what do you hope to get out of this seminar? Why are you personally here? Like we shared in the beginning, like what your business challenge is, but what is it that you hope to get out of this? How, if you had, I guess, 3 wishes or a fairy godmother or whatever it may be, is it know what it is that you hope to get out of this? What kind of support that you're looking for? If it's literally just practical tips of how do I do my pricing, no problem, we can do that. But I know for me, sometimes I want practical tips on pricing, and I also want a roadmap, or I want some support, or I want some industry um, references, or all kinds of stuff. So take that moment and know what it is for you. And then that way, once you know what that is, and if you want to share it, you can. It is going to certainly help us will help us deliver on that and achieve it. So feel free to pop that in the chat if you want to share and you want, I don't have to know about it, but if you want to, that's fine. So let's kind of look at the big picture universal problem that's happening for most food and beverage businesses. I often use the word restaurants. This is not just for restaurants. It can be cafes, it can be food service, it can be many other things, and it can also be artisan food products or consumer packaged goods. The wording will sound a little bit different for that, but it's the same concept. So please don't feel left out if I use the word restaurant and you feel like you are a cafe or something else. So does any of this sound familiar? In 2019, you had razor thin margins. And then on March 15th, the bottom fell out and sales plummeted. And then 2020 ate those razor thin margins for lunch. Or does any of this sound familiar? Since then, it's been a weird roller coaster, a mystery ride. I know in Northern California, we have been open for business and closed for business, and open for business and closed for business, outside seating and not outside seating. It's been a roller coaster. Like, I think back to my first Zoom, like it was literally a week after COVID hit. Some friends of mine, it was my birthday, and some friends of mine and I had the first Zoom birthday party that I went to. And as that was happening, I thought, well, we should just reschedule it for beginning of April, because then, it'll be fine. We'll be done in beginning of April. Like it's 2 weeks, right? We're good. It was a mystery ride. Never in my wildest imagination did I think that we would still be here. And now I'm kind of like looking at the end of 2021 for many of my clients of like when things are looking normal and like we're going to be ramping up. I don't actually know. I mean, but we see a light, but it was much more complicated than I initially realized because it was my first pandemic. So I wasn't very skilled at, knowledgeable about pandemics. So it was a roller coaster ride, and it had some impacts that I think none of us really expected. And then relief money, the EIDLs and the PPPs, and in California, we have a California relief grant. I work with clients in other states as well. There were relief grants there as well, or there were specific grants. And just the regulations were mysterious. I know that PPP is still, you have 10 months from the date of issuance of the first PPP, that it's unclear about what the application process is for forgiveness, right? And if it's under $150,000, it's a much easier application than over $150,000. So things were just a mystery. And then there was this ever-changing COVID landscape, which I guess I already addressed above. I just found it mind-boggling. And so all of that means that we had a unknown short-range, future, mid-range, let alone the long-term. Like we didn't know what was happening next week. We didn't know how long. And for so many food and beverage businesses, we just simply didn't have the cash flow runway to stay in business. COVID wasn't all bad for this industry. It certainly devastated the industry because we are based upon people gathering and eating together, and we had to learn how to do things differently. Absolutely. But it wasn't all bad. And I'm going to pull out some of the good things that happened in COVID that we can take and move forward. But so then now often, even without COVID, here are some things that could sound familiar. That one is juggling too many balls at the same time. I know that food and beverage business owners often feel like they're just too many things in the air. And there is also that you have this nagging feeling that you should have done it all yesterday, but you don't really have any idea of how you could possibly get it all done because there's just so much to do. Or maybe you feel certain that there is a solution to your problem, but it's just outside of your reach. You're not entirely sure what's up. Something like that, right? And you know what your business needs, but none of your efforts seem to make the change. I see this so frequently. People are like working so hard and it's just out of their reach. And you're not sure if you're spending too much money or not enough money on marketing and staff and inventory. And you guys, I'll lean in and share a secret with you, which always feels strange with the PowerPoint because it's so PowerPoint feels. I wish we were having, a cup of tea or coffee and eating a scone together and I could hear and, it would be more familiar. But one of the things that I can share with you is almost categorically every entrepreneurial food and beverage business owner that I have ever met is I am spending the money I can. I don't have any more money than that. So I would love to do marketing, but I can't because I don't have the money. I would love to have better staff, but I can't because I don't have the money. I beg of you, if there's one thing I could ask of everybody is like, let go for a short amount of time while we're planning and strategizing how much money you have or don't have in order to find a solution. There's a lot of marketing that you can do without money. There's a lot of staff improvements that you can do without money. It's about slowing down, taking a deep breath, not doing everything at once, and figuring out the tools and systems that really work rather than drinking from the fire hose. Drinking from the fire hose is a phrase I use a lot because I see it a lot in this industry. And frankly, it's why I'm a consultant, because I spent 25 years of my life drinking from the fire hose. And I finally figured like, I have to find a way out how to do this. So, and then you want a successful food and beverage business, business, but you really want to avoid all of the pitfalls and headaches, right? As we're coming out of COVID, there's kind of like this new beginning feeling that's happening. Or if you are literally starting a new business, you want to you want to go there, but you see some standard problems that you're hoping to avoid. So imagine if COVID was over, like just done. It was, and everything was back to normal. There wasn't some transition time. There wasn't a new normal. It was just like COVID was done and we went back to the way things were. I'm guessing that would mean increased sales and everything would be fine, right? Well, imagine if you felt caught up and on target with your business, or you were confident in knowing when and how much to spend in your business. Imagine that your business decisions were based upon a successful working model. Imagine that you knew if you made a decision, it would work. And that you have enough staff, great staff, and enough of them, and the bandwidth to invest in their skills and their development. I mean, before COVID, that was the biggest thing that was kind of on the market. Everybody was talking about like, it's impossible to find staff. Well, imagine if you had enough of them. Imagine if it worked. And imagine that you had a clear sense of both the top and bottom line of your business, meaning you knew how much gross sales were and you knew what your net was. Imagine if you had all of that. And imagine if you were as confident in your business, the business of your business, as you are your delicious, I say food, but food and beverage, your product, your packaged cookies, whatever it may be. Imagine if you were as confident in your business aspect as you were your food. That would be amazing. So what if, let's just take a quick moment. What if you were as confident in your business as you are in your food? What would that feel like? Is there an area, is that different from where you are now? This is an opportunity to see, is there an area where you need more support, where confidence would help? So you want to look at that. So what if you were that confident? What if everything was okay? What would be different? Or maybe there's not a difference. Maybe things aren't bad and you just want to know how to do better. What is that place? So here's the spoiler alert. The culinary samurai, or the kitchen ninjas, I call it, is a cultural myth that never really works out in the long run. And what I mean by that is You know, the image of the angry chef or the temperamental chef and the kitchen ninja, to where we're working all the time and it's just all going to work out. If we just work hard enough, it's going to work out. That is a very big cultural norm and one that I certainly lived by for quite some time. So that's the one that comes up. Maybe you have another, icon of a cultural norm of what it would look like. But just know that the culinary samurai or the kitchen ninja just doesn't work out. You just can't. So, but here's the solution alert. The truth of the matter is, it is not always about a Herculean effort or hard work or rugged individualism. The hospitality industry has rugged individualism more than anything else. I can't say other industries because I don't know them as well. But rugged individualism is very strong in this industry, and it's kind of the foundation of our culture in so many ways. And so it's normal or it's common, it makes sense that we would have it in this industry as well. But it is also about the tools and the knowledge and the wisdom to know when and how to use them, right? Having the right tool for the job is knowing when you want to use a screwdriver as opposed to a hammer. So let's take a moment and look at some solutions. Let's actually take the rest of this seminar and look at the solutions to solve for what sounded familiar and what we could imagine to be great. And let's start plugging in some of those solutions. How are you guys doing? Are there any questions, any comments? Do you need anything? Did I go over something too quickly? Hi, Betsy.
It just looks like some of the things you're touching on, that's kind of where they are. These are the things that they want to avoid as they move forward in their businesses, that avoid those pitfalls and headaches and things that you're talking about. So
that's wonderful. I'm so grateful. Okay, let's talk about some success tools then, you guys. The tripod of success. Every successful food and beverage business has the tripod of success, which is the product, the brand, and the financial model. I hate saying the product about your food because it sounds like I'm talking about hair gel or something, or dental floss, but it could be your packaged cookies, it could be a food truck, it could be a smoothie stand, it could be restaurant. So your product, right? Your product, now I want to be really clear. Now, your product can vary. You can have the fanciest restaurant in the area, or you can have McDonald's. And both of them, from a business standpoint, are serving a great product, right? McDonald's is very clear about what it serves, and that product serves it is what it is. It does what it does well. And we'll get more into that when we get into the 5 R's. But the product doesn't necessarily, I want to be really careful that we're not like, I'm going to serve a better hamburger. I'm going to serve a great hamburger. I'm going to serve the best hamburger. I want to be really clear. There are many different kinds of hamburgers on the planet. So the product, the brand, and the financial model, all three of those need to be very well executed in order for a business to succeed. And it's possible that you're right now thinking, you're like, I remember Johnny's restaurant down the road from the time I was a kid, like it was always delicious and it was always busy and we loved it, but he ended up going out of business because he couldn't make any money. So there's this exception to the rules. You can kind of get by with 2 out of 3 in very, very fast economic times if you have a very bizarre set of circumstances to where it works. But the reason why successful businesses work is because they nail all 3 of these, right? There's a stool, it's the product, the brand, and the financial model. There are a couple of things that I would share, but this is one of the things that I would like circle or take a screenshot or do something on, like, get that one, in your brain, the product, the brand, and the financial model. And the financial model, well, we'll get more into that. It's kind of my thing, but it's more than just, am I making money or am I charging enough? It's looking at the whole thing. I kind of liken it to an outfit, right? You can only mix styles so much before it just doesn't make sense. Like you can't wear one boot and one high heel, or unless it's high heel boot, but you know what I mean? Like you'll walk funny. So we want to have a model that works all the way around. Excuse me. Okay, so As I said, there's a couple of things I'm going to say is really important, but that last one, wait, what was that? If you only learn one thing from this entire webinar, let's take a second look because that was really important. The tripod of success. All successful food and beverage businesses nail three things: the product, the brand, and the financial model. So if I can't impart anything else to you in this time, know that all three of those, that is the tripod of success. I've seen it happen a 1,000 times. Okay. So the good news is that you can have all of this. You can have success. So while you may need some help in getting there, you can have all of it. It is not a mystery. I am. I don't have any magic beans. I have a lot of experience and I have a lot of curiosity and I've had a lot of clients, but this is not something that is unobtainable. This is not like trying to get a PhD in physics by the time you're 8, right? Like it's not an impossibility. This is all, but it is important to pay attention to. And one of the things that happens in this industry is it is so easy to assume that I'm working hard, I'm using my experience from from what I learned working for other people, and now I'm going to go work really hard, and that's how it's worked. That is not how it works. It's important to pay attention to the business structures and tools, and that's what we're here to do. It's totally possible to have all of this even now, even in a pandemic. So let's get into it. Let's move forward. So just in case you're like, yeah, lady, who are you? What does this matter? I was professionally raised in the school of the culinary samurai, and I was busy all the time. And I was behind on a ton of tasks all the time. I was frustrated and frankly embarrassed and alone. I thought I should know more than I did. I went to a classical French cooking school. I did apprenticeships in France, culinary, and I had this. Came back to the States at the time when it was first cool to have women at the helm of the fine dining restaurants, and I suddenly found myself there at the age of 24 with a daily changing menu and a 25-person kitchen staff, 3 meals a day, and in this restaurant. And I had no idea what I was doing. All I knew how to do was cook and yell, because that's what chefs do. So I started out where I had to learn quite a bit really quickly. I had a great culinary education, but I didn't know anything about business or management. So all of that is to share, not to talk about me so much, because really, who cares? I want to share with you that I know your pain. I had physical pain in getting the right food costs. As a matter of fact, this is on my 27th birthday, I woke up and I rolled over to get out of bed, and I put my foot on the floor and pain shot up all the way up my leg and the back of my neck and da-da-da. I was so tired that I was physically in just pain. And you know what? It's really hard to be okay when we work that hard. But also, it was the time that, I had the right food cost. I took my first chef job, is actually at the year before, an executive chef job. And I had committed that I would come up with a correct food cost. At the time, it was 36% or 33%. No, it's 36. And I said, I will have that within 3 months. And I had no idea how one gets a food cost like that, right? I didn't even know what percentages were. It didn't make any sense. I didn't know how to do any of that. And the way that I hit my nail on my food cost that very first month of being an executive chef for what would now be a $12 million restaurant, not knowing how to do that, is I got the right food cost in my first month, but I had no idea how I did it. And you know how I did it? Because I worked myself to the bone. I rotated every carton of milk and every egg and every piece of fish and every piece of meat and cheese and dairy I possibly could. I neurotically checked my food and I didn't overbuy. But you know what? I was in physical pain and I didn't have a breakdown, but I took a day off after 4.5 months. And I burned myself making a grilled cheese sandwich. I burned myself so bad I had to go to the ER. Like I was a mess. And you don't need to be a mess. So that breaking point was hard to swallow. it meant that I had to grow in ways that were against the cultural norm that were so deeply ingrained to me. I thought I was just going to work harder and harder. And as it turned out, I really did need to work smarter. It was part of my identity. I had been raised in this industry that where you bootstrap it through hard work on your way to success. That's the only way that you get to success, is to work really hard. And I was exhausted. So I went back to work, and the next day after I'd taken one day off, and that was just so painful, slowing down, that I went back to work the next day. And I had an incredible moment of realizing, like, now what do I do? So later that night, and after I'd gone back to work the next day, I rolled up my knife bag and I saw that I had many different knives for different tasks. But I only had one management tool, and that management tool was rugged individualism. And suddenly it started to unravel, and it didn't really make sense. I suddenly knew that I needed more tools, and I had no idea what that really meant, but I set out to get it. So I knew that, if we have many knives, we can have many different management tools. So, and not everybody, I had learned at that point that not everybody is managed the same way. Not all cooks or not all staff members respond in the same way as well. Let's just take a pause and look at a beautiful board of food. There's a charcuterie board. It's just like, remember, like, this is the reason why we're in this industry. So here's the thing. There are a lot of myths in this industry. It is a myth-laden industry. I mean, just look at this board. Like, can you just imagine us sitting around finding out what's in all those little mustards and dips and stuff, and just having a moment and breaking bread together, literally. There's nostalgia in that, even if we haven't met and we haven't yet to share our first charcuterie board together, our first cup of coffee. There's nostalgia, there's a sense of connectedness. There's a reason. And with that comes a lot of myths and lores. Some of them, I don't know if lore is a word. Lores is a word. There's this mistake I just noticed. There's a lot of myths and lore that come along. And not all of them are good and not all of them are bad, but let's go ahead and look at some that might work. There's a myth of, like, it hasn't rained like this since the spring of 1912. Well, none of us remember the spring of 1912. So the myth is that it's just a tough industry and it's not like it used to be. Both are true, but neither will prevent you from succeeding. The problem is it puts some unknown, vague, external other in control of your business, right? It's a tough industry and it's not like it used to be. Absolutely. But what about it is tough, and what about it is different, so that we can measure it and succeed? Define the problem. This is going to be one of the very key things that I will always go back to, is define the problem. And the solution is, it's a new era that requires a new model. Let's build the new model that works for you. I can teach you how to build your very own model so that you can succeed rather than struggling to make one on your own. There is no need to make your own. My coach tells me this thing that always shocks me. And he reminds me that the way we learn is by watching others. Like when we learn how to walk, a baby learns how to walk by having a sense of, like, that's what those other people are doing, and I'm the only one that's sitting here, right? And we also learn by we fail our way to success inevitably. I'm just hoping to help you fail faster. So, like I said, I was going to share with you in this the 5 R's. And really, the 5 R's are a fancy way of saying alignment. Is everything working together? If your back is out of alignment, you're going to be in pain and it won't work well. If your teeth are out of alignment, it can be hard to chew. And we all know that if your socks and your shoes aren't in alignment, it's really irritating and not a good thing. But like, if the tires on a car are out of alignment, right? We get our car realigned on a regular basis. Well, maybe not on a regular basis. I think we're supposed to. But if the wheels and your tires are out of alignment, you drive like this and you wear unevenly. It's harder on you, and it's not as effective if your tires are out of alignment. So what are the 5 R's? The 5 R's are about selling the right product at the right place, at the right price, in the right time, to the right person. It's customizable, it's reusable, and it's yours for life. It doesn't come with a set of tacky late night TV nights, though. Take this model and use it, own it, make it your own. And the reason why I believe that this model is valuable and useful for you is so that you can see, does this make sense? Is this something that will work for you? Like, what the right product? Remember I said like McDonald's serves a hamburger and there's the fanciest burger on the planet, right? There's two things in between, or there's many in between. So is your product as right as it can be? Is it hot food hot and cold food cold? Is it the right temperature? Do we have the right amount of mayonnaise for turkey on the sandwich? Like, have we stopped and looked at it and tasted it? You know, one of my pet peeves in life is when I see professionals not using a consistent amount of spreads on sandwiches. Like, you just look at, like, do you know that there's another human being eating on the other side? So the right product, is your product right? Do we need to check the temperature more or not? And then at the right place. You don't want to sell ice to Eskimos because, as it turns out, they have a lot of ice. If you can sell ice to Eskimos, that's great. You're an amazing salesperson. But people that want a McDonald's hamburger are going to want it in a convenient way. They're not going to want to drive 35 miles out of town to get one. I mean, if they have to, because there are rural spots in this country, yes, absolutely. But it's like, remember that like McDonald's is convenient and it's fast. And so where do people want convenient and fast? On the side of freeways, quite often. There are a lot of McDonald's on the side of freeways. It's the right product at the right place. And it's the right price. I could go on for days about the right price. And I don't just mean like, are you charging enough or are you charging too little or not enough, but the right price. And a story that I share there is my stepmother once won, not her style at all, but during a holiday management party, she won the raffle for the grand prize and won a Harley Davidson. When she won the Harley Davidson, it was delivered in this big fancy wooden box 6 weeks later to her garage. And she didn't bother opening. She doesn't even like have any interest in a motorcycle whatsoever. And so she listed it on Craigslist for $500. And listing it on Craigslist for $500, she got no responses whatsoever. Nobody wanted to buy her brand new Harley Davidson for $500. My little brother and I heard of this and we were like, oh, you can't possibly do that. And she was like, I guess I have to lower the price. What do I do? The point is that if you see a brand new Harley Davidson for $500, you don't believe it's real. It's like the Louis Vuittons that are on the street corners in New York City for $100. Do you think they're real? So it has to be a price that makes sense to get people paying attention in the right way. And it has to be believable. Now, is it the right price for you? Are you making enough money? That's a whole other story that we're going to get into as well. But in order to be successful, is it at the right price? In the right time, right? People aren't interested in buying margaritas at 6 a.m. Well, most of the time they're not. Do you know what I mean? Like, is it the right time? Is it the right time in their life? Is it the right time of day? Is it the right time in the cycle? Do you know that like chocolatiers and confectioners make all of their money in the last quarter and the first quarter of the year? They make like 90% of their money in those 2 quarters. So having brand new opening a chocolate shop in the beginning of May is going to be a tough time to make a decent living because it's going to get busy in another 6 months. Now, there could be some strategic reasons why one would want to open up in May, but know that it's not the busiest time. Is it the right time? All of this is an opportunity to sit back and look and see so that you can have an internal view of auditing and how things might work. So at the right time, and then to the right person. You know, I've been talking about hamburgers and cheeseburgers a lot in this presentation, but an example that I often use is pizza. There's a wide range of pizza, and it's so easy to say, but everybody loves pizza. And I'm going to make the best pizza, and we're going to have the best customer service. And that's wonderful. But there are different types of pizza for different reasons. Sometimes it's the thin crust artisan pizza, right? And sometimes we want Domino's or Round Table or the equivalent, or Papa John's, right? So the right person, and generally speaking, somebody is going to be a thin crust $22 individual pizza, and some people are going to be a large household pizza for $15, right? It might be based upon price, it might be based upon flavor, knowing who the right person is. So again, this model is customizable, it's reusable, and it's yours for life. Take a screenshot, it's in your notes, it's in your handouts, and you can find it in all of the resources that I'm offering, but I want you to know that it's there. And I'm sorry it cut off at the bottom. Okay, so wait, where are we again? Because this has been going on for a while, and what's happening? This is all about the 6-step process, and perhaps you're wondering, get on with it, lady. Well, I have been getting on with it, and I am laying the foundation so that we can, and giving you the tools as we go along. We talked about the 5 R's and the tripod of success. I'm going to pause now for a second and check in with all of you to see how things are going. Are there any questions? Hi, Betsy. I love the way you pop up like that. How's it going? Do we have any questions? What's going on, you guys? Did I put you all to sleep?
I doubt that, but we'll give them a second, see
Okay.
if anybody's typing, but
Is this fitting for you? What do you need? How are things going? I see lights flashing.
well, Ashley just popped in and said, yes, great so far. I mean, I think the information so far is, I'm enjoying it.
Well, I'm so grateful for that. And
Yeah,
wonderful. Okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay. Awesome. Feel free to raise your hands. Let me know if you need something. It's, I have done a lot of Zoom, even before COVID. About half of my work was on Zoom. I enjoy it, but at the same time, I'm in California. When you're sitting in your own office at 7 a.m., talking to yourself, staring at a computer, you want to be like, hello? Are you guys with me? And the light is changing. And so I'm going to start looking funny for a second. I apologize. It was dark when we started, and it's now day is coming up. So anyway, awesome. Thank you so much for indulging me this pause, an opportunity to check in. Okay. So now we're going to look specifically, we're going to do a deep dive on the actual 6-step process, right? We're going to do a deep dive in each one. And I'm going to start putting resources at the bottom of each slide for you, so you can find different ways to get more information, or to be in touch with me, or to get your questions answered, or something like that. Absolutely available. But I'm going to repeat those over and over. So if you don't get it on one particular slide, know that it is okay. So, sorry, I keep looking away because I have 2 screens. One is where I'm going and one is where I am. So I have to keep checking, like, are we on the same page? So remember I said in the beginning, there are 2 things that I can't do for you. One is to know the dream, and 2 is to apply some tools. I can do a lot of stuff for you, but I have to have help with that. So the first step in the 6-step process to having a successful food and beverage business is to know where the finish line is, or the North Star. That's what's amazing about it, right? Is to have the finish line and a North Star already in the first step. Totally strange, but true. And that's why the tripod of success will help you define the North Star. That's why we did all this stuff before we got to the actual 6-step process. The tripod of success will help you figure out exactly what it is. And what I want to encourage, above all else, what I want to encourage you guys is to do something more than I'm going to make great pizza. I'm going to make the best pizza with the best customer service. I don't think that you would actually do that, but I have read that in business plans. And with that is, you're not setting yourself up for success. The more specific that you can be, you're not setting yourself up, the more successful you are, then you can talk to the right people at the right place at the right time. So the finish line, the North Star, what does success look like for you? Not just that you're a multi-gajillionaire, but how much time off are you taking? Who are you serving? What impact does it have? Stuff like that. So having the finish line and the North Star, this creates your personal map very early on so that you can both head towards the finish line and learn new tools at the same time, rather than just head down working your tail off, which is really hard to do, by the way, in a global pandemic, right? I understand that there's a lot of having your head down and going towards the finish line. So you get to learn new tools at the same time, and you know where you're going, so you don't have to have it. My dad used to teach me this thing where he would say, we're going to climb a mountain. And in the beginning, you would look up at Mount Lassen, which is a mountain in Northern California. You would look up and be like, that's where I'm going. And it would be enough to take your breath away and to inspire you. But from there on, you kind of look down at your feet or what's happening 10 feet in front of you so that you can keep learning and take on new tools, but you have in your mind where you're going. So it helps to see what is already working and what needs focus. That's what's also great, right? Because it is so easy to feel like two extremes. I've seen entrepreneurs are like, I'm great, I'm killing it. And I'm like, well, you haven't made money in 6 months, but you're killing it. Or the flip side is that you also have people that you just feel like it's never going to work. It's the end of the world. Right. And so it helps you to see what's already working and what needs to get focused on, because it's probably neither. Down at the bottom, one of the, like I promised I would give you guys resources. I have a free Facebook group. It's called Food Biz Builder. It's a private group for food and beverage business owners. It's free. There's nothing that you can sell there, even though it just sounded like nothing you can buy there. It sounded like a sales pitch. It's just a private community group that I grow, and I share more in-depth trainings like this and stuff that I don't do for the whole world. And the reason why it happens in a group is because in order to invest my time, it needs to be with people that are already kind of focused and involved in it. If you want to discuss any of this, you are welcome to go there and apply to get in. So the finish line in the North Star, defining where you're going, is such an important and valuable role. The second one is the golden ring. And what I mean by that is your circle of customers. Define your target market by more than the usual. Remember, like, everybody loves pizza. Everybody loves pizza. Well, everybody loves different pizza, and not actually everybody loves hamburgers. Or it's not true. Like, who are you serving that hamburger to? The same way, like I just told you guys about Food Biz Builder, I want to make sure that I'm serving the right people. So I made it a private and gated community. Still free, but I just want to make sure that we are focused. Those of us that are in there, we are focused. So you want to define your target market by more than usual. So are you doing what you do best and that what you are most happy doing? Now, that's really tricky because it'd be easy to say, like, I have known food and beverage business owners that are like, this is what I want to do. This is what I do best. But you still have to run a business, right? There are some things in my business that I outsource because they're critical to the success of my business, but it's not what I do best. It's not what I do well. I do a ton of financials in my business. You know, when I started out, little side note, when I started out, I thought I was going to have, I would be like a chef for hire, and that I would do some business tools and I would help like organize your kitchen and do some new recipe testing and do some financials and stuff like that. and I would like bop around from restaurant to restaurant. And that is actually not what I do as a consultant most of the time. Though if you need me to do that, give me a call because I am happy to come play in your kitchen. But I do a lot of financial modeling, as it turns out, right? Like I do modeling in ways that your CPA doesn't. And so, but I do all the financials. And you know what? I hire out the financials for my business. I can focus on yours. I can do financial modeling for you, but it's not my strong suit in my business. I frankly can't be bothered, and it bores me to tears. And so I hire somebody else to kind of hold that for me. And that way I can serve my clients and do what I do well and just hire it out. So I want to be really careful. Like you still like checks still need to be deposited. Whatever it is that you don't want to do, we still have to find a way to do it. But are you focusing on what you're doing best? Because if you're doing what you do best, you're going to best be able to serve. And let's get clear, the hospitality industry is about serving and finding a way to do that sanely. So you also want to do it for your target market so that you are perfect for them. I was standing in a coffee shop, which is a small chain coffee shop. It's not Starbucks, but it's smaller than that. And actually it may not be smaller than that now, but it's specific to Northern California. And I realized that I was their exact target audience. And by being that exact target audience, everything, I barely even noticed the coffee shop or the brand or the components to it. It was seamless how well I fit for that. And then you can also speak directly to them if we know exactly who your target is. And their needs are met. And it can all happen within your wheelhouse. So it's your circle of customers. And one of the things that you'll notice that I shared in the workbook is that I believe that your customers are not just the people that are sitting down at your diner and buying a plate of food. It is also people that are working for you, stakeholders, investors, your friends, your family, the people, like all of your customers, people that buy into your success. We want to look at who they are and how we can serve them. What are their needs and what is it that you do well that can serve them? So the second ring is called the golden ring, meaning that it's golden. Without people, really it comes down to people. Without people, your business isn't going to succeed. Like we all know, relationships really matter. So we want to look at who are they and how can we best meet their needs. Same thing with staff, right? You want to hire people that fit your business model or fit your ethos, fit your core values and all of that. And the third step is the brand. I love brand. I can talk about brand until the cows come home. It's both the DNA of your business and it's the ribbon or the bow on top of your business. Your brand is, I'm sure I have this in here somewhere, so I'm going to misquote it out of thing, but a brand is a promise that exists in the mind of your customers. It's so important. I'm going to say it again. A brand is the promise that exists in the mind of your customers. It is not the thing that is on your horse's derriere. It started out as that and it has changed, but you know who that cow belonged to. It is not just the logo. It is not just the Nike swoosh. It is the feeling that you have when you see the Nike swoosh. It is the feeling that when you see the Circle K ranch on the back of a cow or on a cow that you know. It's the feeling that you get of like, that belongs to the so-and-so ranch. That's, it's the feeling that you get and the thoughts that go through your mind. And so if we were live, a lot of times I ask this, I do a brand exercise here and I would say something like, what happens, or actually I will ask you guys, what happens when you think of the Nike swoosh? And I'll share with you that our responses are different based upon our age and based upon our demographics, right? Our location and stuff like that. Some people think of Air Jordans. Some people think just do it. Some people have different responses all over, right? And because of that, that was very strategic. Same thing with Harley Davidson. There was a time when Harley Davidson was sold and then ultimately bought back. But And during that time, the new owners of Harley Davidson wanted to save a lot of money. And in saving a lot of money, they got really cheap. They started buying inferior products, basically, or less expensive products, less well-done products. And Harley Davidson started leaking all over the place. And they had this reputation for just being like grease buckets. I think this was in the 80s. And then Harley Davidson felt like they had a reputation, and they went back, the original family went back and bought it back and fixed it all up. So the brand, right? This is the feeling. Think of it as the personality of a business, and it's that promise, right? You know that when you're going to somebody's house for dinner on Friday night, or in 6 months, I guess I should say, you know that when you're going to dinner, you think about like, oh, that's crazy so-and-so, you know, we're going to laugh. Or that is serious so-and-so. We know that we're going to talk about important things. That's the feeling, right? And your brand is conveyed across the board in many, many different ways. It's how we answer the phone. It's the uniforms we use. It's the way we smile. It's the cadence in the way we talk. I'm thinking about that because my personality is like people, I've always heard that I come across as super confident. And I don't think that I'm any more confident than the rest of the world. I just happen to speak in a way that's like right there, and here I am, and and so people that I have to deal with are contend with. That's part of the brand of who I am. People see that in me. So know that your brand is so much more than just your logo or your colors. However, it is very important that your presentation of your brand is consistent. So like the blue background is a very specific blue, and the yellow, those are my brand colors. And you can see them over and over again. You may like them, you may not like them, but at least they're consistent because you know what you're going to get. And that's partly how I build the promise that exists in your mind. When you interact with me, you know that this is what you're going to get. Same thing for your business, right? So this is where the goal, the people, and the promises all come together. This is the key to success, right? And the goal, the people, and the promises come together is that intersection of, it's the tripod of success, really, again. It's getting all three of those to work together. And once that happens, then your brand will sing. And when your brand sings, you really only need 100 or 1,000 brand ambassadors. Basically, people become evangelists. They will go talk about your business. So this can be both easy and challenging. And the key is to get the results that impact your business and puts you in the driver's seat rather than collecting dust in your office. Please do not go spend a ton of money getting somebody to give you the visual brand identity if you're not going to use it. I'm going to pause because it looks like we have some questions in the chat. Should I go ahead and check these out?
Yeah, Deegan, do you see the Q&A as in addition to the chat?
I do. I see that there's open. It's how many people do you hire out, what groups, payroll, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Kara or Kara? I always feel uncomfortable with that name. I'm like, I don't want to mispronounce it. Because Dijon. How many people do I hire out, or how many people should you hire out? Do you want to unmute yourself and we can workshop that real quick?
I think I have to unmute her, but I can do that if she'd like me to. Hang on.
Okay.
Okay. Hi, it's Kara, actually.
Hey, Kara.
And the nature of the question is you're talking about you hire out, and I guess I'm just asking, what are the things that you hire out that you're doing, but you're hiring other people to do? Because we are in the process of hiring a lot of different functions. And so I'm curious as to what are the things that you yourself hire out?
What's your business?
We are opening a tropical smoothie cafe franchise, and it's going to be
right.
the first one.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So my business now is that of a consultancy, right? I am not serving any food and beverage. Well, I cater from time to time, or I jump in with clients, but like my business is going to be very different than yours. I do hire out payroll. I hire out all bookkeeping. It's embarrassing, but I am so bad at it for my own business. It's just like, I cannot be bothered. It's the same thing with, I mean, there's just some things like I know I should do it, but I can't be bothered. So I hire out all of the function of day-to-day financials of my business. I look at it on a monthly basis. I know what my goals are. I know what I need to achieve, but the person that's going to put all the debits and credits in line, I hire that out because it's just not my thing. Who should you be hiring out is a different question. And so is it okay if I answer that, or did you just want to know about me?
Oh, no, I'm looking for all advice. Please do.
Okay. So I would say that it's important for, like, when starting out, when you're opening up your first tropical smoothie cafe franchise, a franchise is really important in looking at you know where you're going, right? That was step one in the 6-step process. And so being that you know where you're going, that determines how you're going to get there. And I will probably say that another 6 times in this presentation. Where you are going determines how you are going to get there. And in doing that, like a franchise, you want to have that set up with a CPA right away and your legal team, right? You want to have that set up before you start, because that's where you're going. Now, you don't have to have all of the things in place for a franchise before you go, but you do want to have some of it. So I would, in your case, I would hire a CPA and the legal framework to do a franchise from the very beginning. After that, I would have all my clients, anybody starting out, I would strongly suggest that you have your CPA help you set up your financial systems like QuickBooks or Xero or something like that. But once you're done with that, you would also want to absolutely, I believe in doing our own bookkeeping internally for a while until we get it down and really, really know what it is. I did my own bookkeeping for a long time until I figured out that, like, this is taking me 4 times longer than I need to because I'm dragging my feet.
So the purpose of doing your own bookkeeping would be so that you have a firm understanding of how you're spending your money, and maybe that would help you understand how you could save money, or is there other reasoning with that as well?
Yes, ma'am. That is exactly it. And I can get on a soapbox about this. So I will try and be. Yeah, we really need to know where it is. I mean, I know almost every single food and beverage business owner that I have ever met. Just like, I lean in and I'm like, how are your cost of goods sold? Let's look at your money. And they're like, oh, you know what? My cost of goods sold, like my food costs it's great. I'm really good. I'm a good shopper. I know where to buy. I have relationships with vendors. Everything is like that. I'm good. And then we start looking at it and it's like, oh, whoops. Well, actually, we spend a lot of money here and we spend a lot of money there. So looking at it and knowing where we spend money, it's just like looking at your kid, or I think you said you have a child up, you have a brother. Okay, you have a brother. So you look at your brother and you know him well enough to know that if he's having a good day, if he's having a bad day, or if he's hungry, or if he's, you know, like something needs to be attended to, or you know that he always gets cranky around just before lunch or whatever it is, right? It's knowing those things. And you know that because you have spent time with him and you are used to him. Right. And so that's why you want to get familiar with your own bookkeeping, is you want to have a sense of what are you truly spending?
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Super important. My pleasure. Thank you so much for having on. You know, the other thing to say in this, you guys, is I'm going to minimize the chat again. The other thing to say in this is the good news is that you can hire out. When I first started hiring out, I didn't hire out full time. I hired out a bookkeeper 5 hours a week. Or I hired, same thing with staff, like you can have wait staff come in and help you, or cooks come in and help you. You can have them, they don't have to be there for 8 hours a day. So there you go. So the brand, right, is the key to your success. And this can be both easy and challenging but the results of your business puts you in the driver's seat rather than collecting dust. And the other thing is, it's really important to, in a brand, you can spend, like, you can go on Fiverr and you can get a logo for $150. You can go to a branding agency and you can begin to get a logo package for $30 to $50 to $70,000. The main thing is, I would say this is where you want to put your money. If you're starting out in a business, you want to put your money into developing a brand. Absolutely. You want to do that really well. And the hardest part of your brand is strategic thinking and doing the heavy lifting in your brand. So even if you don't have, you're like, oh, Tegan said it'd be $10,000 and I don't have $10,000, you can do a lot of this yourself, right? Like, I mean, there are trade-offs, but just because you don't have the money certainly doesn't mean it can be done. You absolutely, your business and your future success deserve the strategic thinking that goes into a brand. Let's look at number 4, shall we? Because like I said, I can soapbox about a brand all day, every day. I spent most of my career as a chef. And then the other 2 aspects of the tripod of success are the brand and the financial model. And now I spend a lot of time talking about the brand and the financial model. So step 4 is ducats or dinero and moolah. It's the financial model. So look, you guys, the financial model I put in the workbook specifically for this group. There are 4 main components to the financial model. There's manufacturing overhead, which is rent, stuff that is happens every month, no matter what. Garbage, utilities, even though utilities might vary, right? Manufacturing overhead is typically a fixed cost. Actually, let's not get into fixed yet. Okay, so you have manufacturing overhead. You have cost of goods sold, meaning what it takes to put in to sell your peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And if you're serving that on a paper plate, that is part of your cost of goods sold. If you are serving it on a ceramic plate that you are going to wash, it is not part of your cost of goods sold, right? So manufacturing overhead, fixed costs, cost of goods sold, variable costs, because if you sell a lot of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, you're going to spend a lot of money on peanut butter, jelly, and bread. If you don't sell many, then you're not going to sell much. You're not going to have. So your cost of goods sold are variable. And then you are going to have labor. That's the 3rd component is labor. And your 4th component is your profit. So if you have debt, marketing expenses, it goes into one of those 4 categories. And at the bottom, so you have gross sales, those 4 categories, and then or those 3 categories, and then your bottom line is the profit. That is your financial model. So knowing what that is the financial model. And there is a historic model that no longer works. But in restaurants, it used to be 30, 30, 30, and 10. So manufacturing overhead was 30%, cost of goods sold was 30%, labor was 30%, and net profit was 10%. That model is no longer universally true. And I only share it to say, yes, it's out there, but please don't copy that. And please don't force yourself into that model. Find the model that works for you and build the model that works for you. And most importantly, measure back to that model, right? And everything's certainly changed because of 2020, which that's one of the things that I said would be good that I would point out, that wasn't all bad about 2020. One of the things that helps is having having a model that we know will work, but going back and measuring it is most important, because there is this delta between financial projections and how we think things are going to work and how things are really going to work. And I had a client just 6 months ago that said, my business said last year that I had a profit of $40,000, but I don't have $40,000 in my bank account. Where is that money? How come I don't have that money? Those are like 3 different systems all working at once. And that's the reason why we want to have a financial model, so that you can measure your success and not wonder, like, I'm working like crazy, it's busy, how come I'm not making any money? Well, how come you're not making any money, or where is your money, are kind of 3 different systems all at once. And we can solve that if we have each of those systems built out. So the financial model, like I said, is, so food and beverage is cost of goods sold and labor costing. Those 2 things together add up to something called the prime cost. And the prime cost is the thing it's an old term that is used less now. And I think it's a really important term. I am trying to revive it. And the reason why I'm trying to revive it is because once you're in business, once you've signed your lease or bought the building, and once you have your menu set, and once you know what your food and beverage, your cost of goods sold, and your labor are the two things that you have the most control over that determine your success or not your success. So food and beverage together, the prime cost is key to your success. That is what you can control once you're in business. So there's a financial recipe book with financial benchmarks. And now when I say recipe book, it doesn't mean your cost of goods sold. It's like, what are the terms that happen? And if anybody is interested in looking at financial benchmarks or a recipe like terms and concepts, let me know and I'll send that to you. It's an addition, it's a bonus, it's above it, but it kind of gives the framework of how financials work. So I gave you the framework of how financials works, but I'll give you specific terms and look at some financial benchmarks. I can offer that to you as well. And having that financial model, or knowing how to count your ducats, your dinero, and your moolah, will create a sense of well-being. Remember, I said in the beginning, it's really easy to, for me, that I constantly move the goalpost. If I have it now, money is not the only way that we measure success, but it is certainly one of the most tangible, concrete ways of measuring success in business. And knowing that you are hitting your financial goals is kind of like the feeling of getting brand new shoes when you were a little kid. I guess some kids don't like it. I have a very distinct memory of a time when I was a little kid that I got a brand new pair of fancy, I think they were like Buster Brown shoes. And I remember like walking across the street, looking at my feet, just feeling so very fancy and grown up. It's that feeling of like when everything's working at all, it's an exciting and satisfying feeling. So you want to have that. And most importantly, so that you can make money. Again, money is not the only measure of success by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a very clear measure of success. And you can do a lot of things with money that you can't without. So that would be number 4, is having that financial model. And number 5 is operations. I put operations very near the end of this, right? Because most often people get into business with operations being their strongest suit. It's the thing that people know how to do the most. But I want to have a new look at the common day-to-day work. I want to offer you the opportunity to create systems that are ease and efficiency. My goodness gracious, you guys, I see so many people working so hard and crazy just to try and keep things moving as much as possible, right? And so when you create systems for ease and efficiency, are you doing ordering consistently? Are you doing payroll consistently? Are you setting up your staffing consistently? Do we have prep sheets and par lists and station guides, right? All of that stuff is going to make life much more easeful and efficient. So here are the things that come with it. Or one of the things that I want to mention is in the beginning, like in a startup environment, everything is goal driven or dream driven, right? We are here, we're going to build a computer and we're going to call it Pineapple Computers. And we have a dream and we're going towards climbing that mountain and building that dream. And then everything is kind of hectic in the startup phase. Like we're all just going in that general direction. We don't have a plan. We don't really know what we're doing, but we're all working really hard to go towards this ideal. And there's another stage of development in a startup where people come along, and it has to do with, we start to systematize everything. And so then we have goes overboard in that sense as well. And all organizations do this, or all organizations can do this, right? And so you get done. So what ends up happening is people end up making policies and procedures and templates and guides and tools and resources, and then they get bogged down in paperwork, right? And we've all seen an organization like that. I mean, it's bureaucratic efficiency, but bureaucratic efficiency is kind of like going to the DMV, right? I mean, it's not always the most efficient system. So you want to create systems to get us out of the hectic of operations, because you actually need to do more than be in operations. You need to manage your business, right? That's the whole key to the 6-step process, is so that you are managing the business rather than it managing you. And then you also want to make sure that those systems are for ease and efficiency and not just creating more work for yourself and not going anywhere. So systems and tools will help you streamline your operations and make it smooth and easy for you, your staff, your customers. We get back to that golden circle, right? Operations needs to serve, I think it's step number 2, the golden circle of everybody that is a customer that buys into your business. There's an org to task chart that I have. It creates a tool, and basically, I'll tell you guys what it is so you can recreate it for yourself. The org to task chart is basically you take all of the needs of the organization and list them out. And then you take all of those, so that becomes the tasks. And then you fit those tasks back into who does it, and how do those tasks get done within the organization. Is that the chef's job? Is that the bookkeeper's job? Is that the busboy's job? What is it? Where do they all fit? So it's not just everything is idiosyncratic in your head and qualitative. We want to have things that are measurable, right? And so putting all the tasks down into the organization and then fitting them into roles, even if you're just starting out and you are wearing all of the hats within your organization, you create time slots for when those can get done. So let's get to number 6. Number 6 is the pot of gold. And that doesn't just mean counting the money. It means that you can succeed in the food and beverage business with both personal and financial success by creating and implementing a measurable framework. The pot of gold, remember I said in the very beginning, we have to define where we're going, and continuously that NorthStar, that mountain of where we're going and how we're getting there. And we want to define it so that you know where you are going and you can look at it and enjoy it. Then you can replicate it over and over again. Like for Kara, who's starting a franchise, the pot of gold is really important in the very first one. You're going to learn a ton in the very first one and take it towards the second, in the third, and the fourth. So it's measuring everything that works and how things get improved. I do a monthly, a quarterly, and an annual business check-in to measure these things. Financially, in the restaurant business or in the hospitality industry, I would measure everything financially weekly. But the pot of gold, like how am I doing as a business? Where am I going? Super helpful to do it on a monthly and quarterly basis. So, you guys, those are the 6 steps. We have not reached the end of our time together, but that is the framework, right? And so you can take that and keep it forever. Use it. Whether you're starting out now, you're already in business, or you hope to be in business, you can use that framework to kind of shift. And it's a reference model that you can go back and check in with yourself on, right? So the bottom line, where you are going determines how you are going to get there. This is one of my key phrases. I believe in that. Where you're going determines how you're going to get there. If I know that I'm going to fly to the moon, I should bring some snacks because I don't know how long it's going to take, right? And so it depends on how I'm going to behave to get there. If I'm just walking to the backyard, I don't really have to plan for it. But if I'm going on a long hike and I'm going to Machu Picchu, I certainly need to figure that out, right? And so it determines how I behave. That's why the NorthStar is at the very beginning. You know where you're going. Decide where you're going and be thoughtful about your choices. That's so important. If I could give you guys any one gift, it would be the opportunity to have the time to think about your choices. That's why I said in the beginning, let me be of service to you so that you can sit back and get it. Decide, because it's so easy in this industry with the cultural norm of like rugged individualism and just work yourself to the bone until everything works. Is if we don't know where we're going, we can't really determine how we're going to get there, and we can't impact it. So make sure that it's a big enough dream that you set up straight, but also make sure that you have the support and the tools that you need to get there so you don't get buried and overwhelmed. When you're buried and overwhelmed, it's just too much. So you definitely want to, you can only do so much of your best when you're that buried and overwhelmed. Let's review the 6-step process because I want you guys to have one image of it. This would be, I would take a screenshot of this. The finish line in the North Star, where are you going? Because where you're going determines how you're going to get there. The circle of gold is really your people, all of your people, everybody that's a stakeholder. And important in that is defining your DNA and your core values, your mission and your vision all go within the circle of gold. Because with that and communicating that means that people get the opportunity to know exactly what they can expect from you. All of your staff should be able to repeat your mission, your vision, your core values. They should know it. Like, you should repeat it so many times that people know it. So the brand, and this is where it all comes together. It's the personality, it's the DNA, it's the ribbon, it's the bow on top. It is the promise that exists in the mind of your customers. If there's anything you can remember about 6 times in this presentation, but if there's anything you can remember, this one, I mean it. A brand is a promise that exists in the mind of your customers. And number 4 is counting the gold, the ducats, the dinero, and the moolah. If you don't count that, what are we doing here? Even if you're a nonprofit, right? Even if you seek to not make money and you're just being of service, like, measure the ducats, the dinero, and the moolah. One of mine for my personal businesses, the way I measure gold is how many businesses I've been able to have a positive impact on. But the bottom line is, the way I measure that is, and one of my biggest clients for a long time was absolutely a nonprofit, and was how many lives we changed or how much carbon footprint we changed, right? So measure what works. And oftentimes that can be, most of the time, that can go back to money. Operations, make it easy peasy for yourself so that you are the best and most shining example, so that you can make great food. When it's easy peasy, you can focus on how good the food is. When it's a hot mess, everything's, all messed up, it's hard to make great food. And then number 6 is measuring the gold. And the gold is all 5 other steps. It's not just the money. So there we are, you guys. I am going to stop and back up because, give me half a second. So we still have about half an hour more of presentation, and we can jump into absolutely the framework and some questions along the way. But we want to make sure that I want to stop and just pause here for a second and say thank you for your time. Thank you for trusting me with your time and your business. Thank you for showing up for yourself and your business. Thank you for taking the time to educate yourself, even if this, you are investing in yourself, and that's really important. Because you deserve it. Your success is really important. Believe in your success. Go all the way up. I am going to back up to the financial model. Actually, I'm going to go forward one, excuse me. Here's how you guys can get in touch with me. We're not done, but I just want to give you this now in the beginning. Now we're here, and I'm going to leave it here for just a second. I'm going to go back to the financial model and ask you guys to jump in and see how I can help you really one-on-one in this seminar. How I can help you with your financial model. What are your questions? Or your brand? I can help you with either one of those, but financial model is a big one. So I'm going to go back. I'm now going to change this slide and go back to your financial model. And we're going to sit here for a hot minute. How are you? Your food and beverage, your labor, what do you know? Hi, Betsy.
And I'm, you guys, willing to let you all speak. So feel free, raise your hand, or I'll just go through and make it so that you can unmute yourself and ask questions. We don't have a huge group. So, if Deegan's okay with that, it looks
That's great. Let's workshop it out. I want you guys to walk away with something really tangible here. Look at all your names popping up. I didn't know you were here. So nice to see you. Ashley, I'm curious about the spelling of your name, but let's talk about your model. Looks like you're unmuted.
Yeah, so I own a charcuterie board business. So basically, we have a bunch of different revenue streams. One is I make boards for people. Two is I make very lavish, like grazing tables. And then three, I go to people's homes and do public charcuterie board classes. So I guess my first question is really around pricing. So, I'm not this business, all the ingredients change from time to time. They're seasonal. There's certain cheeses I can get, certain cheeses I can't. The same with meats. So how would I go about pricing? I'm pretty confident that my pricing is okay now because we've been very successful and we've grown tremendously even during the pandemic. But I have a really hard time pricing out certain projects, especially the bigger projects, because of the ingredients and where I can get them at certain times of the year.
Cool. Thank you. I was just taking notes. If I understand correctly, you have 3 different revenue streams. One is boards, grazing tables, and in-home service. Is that right?
Correct.
Cool. And then I want to go back up to the end so we can get to the beginning. You said, I think we're doing okay because we've been really successful. What do you mean by, I mean, congratulations, that's wonderful. But what do you mean by really successful? You're super busy, or you are making a ton of money, or?
All of it. We're about to open up a retail space so we could offer pickup, because that's been a lot of feedback we've been given is, hey, we like that you deliver, but we would rather pick up and things like that. But yes, our sales have tripled since last year. And obviously I just got done with holidays. So that's considering the whole year. And then, yeah, we're extremely busy. I even thought that, after Valentine's Day, I'd died down, but I'm still getting really big, like wedding projects and things like that. So,
I know that you want to talk about a financial model, but I want to talk about your brand for just a second, if I may. Why are you so successful? That's wonderful. Congratulations. I'm glad to hear it. But obviously you are doing something in the 5 R's, right? You are offering the right product at the right place, at the right time, to the right people at the right price. If you're still you're like, I thought we were going to slow down, but I was wrong. I mean, it's a great place to be wrong, right? And you grew during an economic, I don't know if it's a recession, but like you grew during COVID. Good for you. But what are you doing that's right? That's what's really, let's grab onto the gat and get really clear about it. I'm sure the answer is on some level because you make a great product, but also you are communicating something in a way. Your brand is communicating something in a way that people are opening their wallets and running towards you.
Yeah, so I went to college as an accountant. I'm in corporate accounting right now, but brand and marketing is like something I'm really good at. So I think that part of the business, I have no problem. And by the way, I added you on all your social medias already. And social media marketing. Social media marketing is like my forte, and I highly recommend it to anybody that's on this call. But I think where I'm lacking is my profit margins and pricing, which is mainly why I joined this call, just to see if anybody else had that issue. Because, charcuterie is a very high-end product. I mean, our boards, are in the $100, $100, $200, depending on size. We do offer, $50 boards too. But I think where I need a little bit of help is that how much money am I making per board type situation, or how much money am I making per project?
Great. Let's talk about it. Sorry, I had to go there, but I was just like, wait, Ashley, what's happening? But you brought me in really clear, and I'm like, okay, now let's talk about your pricing and your board. I'm going to walk you through the model of how you would figure it out. So for starters, you know that it costs you $7,000 a month to run your business. That's your rent, that's your fixed labor, meaning I'm going to pretend like you're not in accounting right now, that we're paying you $3,500 a month and we're paying $2,000 a month in rent. And we have a company vehicle that's $1,000 or whatever. You guys, as I talk about this off the cuff, do not get hooked on my exact numbers. I'm giving you concepts, and I don't do math like at presenting at the same time. I do a lot of financial modeling, but so don't get like, you're like, that didn't add up. I can easily make a mistake. But let's all agree that Ashley is $7,000 a month in fixed costs that it costs her to run it. And so there has to be some part of each board or each sale. And remember, she has 3 revenue streams that goes towards the bottom line in the company, because we have to pay that $7,000 every month, no matter what. Otherwise, Ashley's kicked out and doesn't have a place to rent. So we want to know what that is, and that will give us our break-even cost. It's super important to know what our break-even is. How much sales do we have to do every month in order to cover a thing? So I'm going to make up some numbers here, if I may. Ashley sells all charcuterie boards for $100. She sells all grazing tables for $350, and she sells all in-home. I don't know, she makes things in-home. So she builds a grazing table or board in-home and does like a class in-home, right? So she has all, let's just say, for example, all boards are $100, all grazing tables are $350, and all in-home projects are $500. So let's break it down for a board, right? Let's just look at that. And so one of the things that Ashley said is that she has high-end product. Everybody says that. And while that is true, right? Like prosciutto or, I don't know, fancy cheeses are very expensive. I just found one of my favorite cheeses in the entire world last weekend at this tiny little cheese shop that I hadn't been able to see in years. It's very exciting. It's called Pleasant Ridge Reserve. Holy moly, is it delicious, but it's pricey. Anyway, so things vary. You can get things at different times of year. And I had a client that opened a pie shop, and what she would do is go to the farmer's market and she would buy what is beautiful and then she would sell it. And she said, I couldn't have a food cost because, or, you know, I couldn't get my cost down because they changed all the time. And she was making like raspberry pies, and raspberry pies can be really expensive, or like high-end stuff. You can still make money, like whether you are selling rice or caviar, you can still make money, right? So the high-end stuff that doesn't really matter within your financial model. It matters within your sales model. But you definitely want to have all of that. So you look at a board, you look at the price, and you know that, look, in order for this to work, this company has to bring in, first you just price out a board. And you can do your financials 2 directions. And that's what's really can be confusing, right? So let's just do it in one direction. You have the board. We know that we're going to leave the board behind, and that's going to cost us $5. We know that we need to have 3 different kinds of meats, and salami is inexpensive and prosciutto is really expensive, or whatever, right? So we figure out what the recipe per board is. And let's say she wants to have a small, medium, and large. That's fine. She would create a recipe for small, medium, and large, figure out what the cost is going into that. And because it's a one-off thing, I would recommend, like, it's something that you are making rather than a line cook, I would price it out like a consumer packaged goods thing, and I would put your labor into that board. How long does it take you to make that board? Now, let's say that you are the executive chef of this company. We're going to pay you $50,000 a year. You're going to do all the ordering, and you hire Deegan to come in and assemble the boards. That's great. You're going to pay me hourly. So the executive chef that does all the ordering, that figures out how many boards we have to do this week or what we're packaging out and all of that, is paid in your fixed cost or your manufacturing overhead, and your labor to create the board should go in, would be an hourly employee typically. When you're the owner, we could divide your salary, but the point here is how much of your time goes into this board. And the thing is like, how are we going to price out Ashley, right? Because Ashley ultimately needs to be making $300,000 a year off of this business. But she's only bringing in $50,000 this year. So how do we price her out at $300,000? We put her in at the wage that we would pay somebody else to do it. Like, there are things in my business that I get paid $20 an hour to do. And those are the things that I outsource as quickly as possible. So you figure out your recipe per board, and then your recipe for like how many ever boards she has. Let's just say small, medium, and large. Then you have the same thing with grazing tables. We're going to have small, medium, and large. Now, if I know Ashley, which I don't, but I'm guessing, in the back of her mind, she's thinking, yeah, but Deegan, they all vary. They do vary. And we're going to get into that because it's just the same thing as the pies, right? So We figure out the recipe for each of the things that she's going to sell. Let's just do the boards of small, medium, and large. We're going to keep it that simple. What that recipe is, then we plug in the cost. Now we know that she loves to put Pleasant Ridge Reserve aged cheese on a board, but she can only get it 3 months out of the year. And getting it 3 months out of the year, it costs 2 times more than any other cheese. And she's going to have to put an inexpensive cheddar with a very fancy cheese on there in order to balance it out, because she wants her customers to have a board that is viable, that is workable, that they can buy for $100, right? You can't just give them like 1 ounce of cheese and 1 ounce of meat for $100. They want something abundant looking. So you want to figure out how you can balance that out. So what it costs you. And then you want to figure out what your target food cost is, or your target cost of goods sold are. And a lot of people, you guys, I want to share this with you like loudly and like kind of put off stars. A lot of people say, because I have an expensive product, I can't make any money. That is not true. I have a client right now that's doing a lot of micro weddings, and somebody on the team said, yeah, but it's hard to do economically. And I said, we're not selling economical micro weddings. We are selling very high-end micro weddings right now, because some people are hurting for money, but there are a lot of people that really want to just, they don't care how much something costs. They want it to be amazing. And so who are we selling to? So once you have the recipe and the cost of each of your 3 boards laid out, I do something, or I build it. There are many different systems that you can do this, but I would recommend doing it most simply in the beginning. The same reason for bookkeeping is you want to have, I created an Excel spreadsheet, and I have a master inventory. So then I can have, say there's like 5 different kinds of prosciuttos, right? We can have domestic and imported prosciutto. And some boards are going to get domestic and some boards are going to get imported. Some boards are going to get 50-50, whatever, right? And so you put in all things in categories, meats and cheeses, and I don't know, she probably has it broken down into different kinds of meats and different kinds of cheeses and fillers and nuts and dried fruits or whatever, right? And so with that, then I would have a tab for my boards, and then I would have the small, medium, and large in there. And then the price could be attached to the board. So as prosciutto goes up, because it's super seasonal, the price of the board is going to go up and down as well, or the cost of goods sold within the board is going to go up and down as well. And so you can always see what your food cost is. And there's going to be a range. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I always build in a range, right? Like sometimes the raspberry pie, which is like the most incredibly popular pie in the world. Like, do you know how expensive it is to make raspberry pie? So the thing is that sometimes I'm going to make more money on it, and sometimes I'm going to make less money on it. But I had put guardrails. Once I build a financial model, I put guardrails on it so that, you know, like my food costs can go up and down between 28 and 32%. But if it goes over 32%, I need to change the model. I need to change my price. So that is how I would figure out how to price your boards and to make sure that you're making money. And a lot of it, you guys, is building a model on the back end and then trying it. Like off the cuff, I'd be like, Ashley, how long is it going to take you to make a small board? She's like, once I have all the ingredients and I'm set up, my mise en place is done, I can do a small board in 20 minutes. I'm like, okay, great. And we're paying you $20 an hour. So, you know, we're going to divide that by 3 because you can do 3 boards in an hour. And we're going to plug it all in, and then we adjust it. And so if you come up with something, so you build the model somewhat, not guessing, but educated guessing, and then you adjust your model and you go back and check it on a regular basis with this Excel spreadsheet that I just told you how to build. That way you also know the fluctuation of your highest thing. Now, you guys, if you're crazy busy, and you're like, I think we're making money, but I'm not sure, because there's money flying everywhere. And just because you have cash on hand doesn't necessarily mean that you're making money. If you think that you're making money and you're not sure, I would say, you know, if you want to cheat, like I would, how do I always say? I would never tell you to do this, but the way that you can cheat on your food costs, if you have to, please don't do this in the big picture because you want to know exactly really what your food costs are. But if you absolutely have to cheat, take your 5 most expensive ingredients and track them on a weekly basis. If you know, well, I happen to know that this is not true, but I'm going to use this as a crazy example. If you happen to know that that prosciutto fluctuates wildly in price, then you should be checking that every week, because that's going to be a key cornerstone to what happens on your charcuterie boards. So build your financial model, your food costing model would be the first thing that I would absolutely suggest. To a menu mix, knowing what a menu mix is. So a menu mix comes down to, let's say we have a classic dinner house and we're serving roasted chicken, and we're also serving lobster, and we're serving surf and turf, and we're serving pasta. Okay, we've all cooked at home. We've all had fancy meals. We all know enough to know that pasta is going to be cheap, while lobster is going to be expensive. It's going to cost me, as the restaurateur, it's going to cost me more money to buy the lobster than it is to buy the pasta or make the pasta. And yet, pasta is going to be a little bit cheaper on the menu than lobster, because we're not going to have like an $8 entree and a $75 entree. That is messing with the 5 R's. Your menu is not in alignment, right? So you're going to have an $18 pasta and a $24 lobster, right? They're going to be somewhat in alignment, which means you're going to make less money on your lobster and more money on your pasta. But it is important, it is critical. This is especially important in the beginning when people start out. They're like, well, I'm not really making money now, but I will when I can afford to go wholesale. Or I will make more money when we get busier. Your financial model is your financial model. You can make strategic choices about where you're going to make less money, but you also have guardrails. You always build those guardrails in. And so you want to have, the ones that fluctuates, and you want to, when your high volatile items that are really expensive fluctuate, you want to know where those are. When you have a menu mix, that menu mix will come down to, you want to make sure that you're selling, if you have pasta on the menu to where you're making more money, but you still need to have the lobster on the menu to have people that want the high-end stuff, right? And they bring in pasta eaters, right? Like there's a mix. So you want to check your sales mix as well as your menu mix. You want to make sure that you're selling, look, it's possible that Ashley has those 3 boards, small, medium, and large, and they're $100, $200, and $300. It's possible that when we look at it, she's making more money on the $200 board than she is on the $100 and $300 board when we break out the food cost. And knowing that is really important, because then when people call and they're like, I'm not sure, you can steer them in the direction of the $200 board. Or if you're not making money on the $200 board, or barely making money on the $200 board, but you notice that everybody's buying it, and that's where your sales are slanted, then let's go back and rework your recipe to make sure that the thing that you're selling the most is something that you can make a decent living off of. And the reason why you want to make a decent living off of it is so that you have your base costs, your fixed costs, your manufacturing overhead are covered every month so that you hit your break even. Ashley, does that help?
Yes, that's very helpful.
Okay. Is there anything that's missing? Like, do you want to know?
No, I think the menu mix was a very helpful tip. And then also, I never thought to make a spreadsheet with all my ingredients on it and then kind of use that and separate each tab into the size of board. So I think I'm going to go do that after this.
And grazing table, right? So you do boards,
Yes.
grazing tables, and in-homes, do 3 of them. Yeah, and so the thing is if I can keep riffing on that for just a second, I'm glad you're going to go do that. Jump into the private group or something, so we can look at it together. I'm happy to, do some follow-up with you on that. And so let's just say, like, in home, you're not going to make any money. It's only $500. You're serving $350 worth of fancy boards. Plus you have to go there and you have to drive home and you have to pack it and you have to clean it up, and you don't make a ton of money on it, right? You make less money. And you're like, well, this sucks. This is no fun. And I know a lot of people will just look at that bottom line and say, I'm not making any money here. I don't like it. And then they show up, not that Ashley would do it, but they show up and they're like, they don't care about it. They're not excited about it. They don't like what they're doing. And that is pretty frustrating. Only do stuff that you like doing. But here's the thing is in home is amazing. She's not making only like, I don't know, 14% net margin at the end. And she really wants to make 20% net margin at the end. And she's like, this sucks. Well, guess what? It's also her marketing plan, right? To have people to be able to take a picture, to get client testimonials in somebody's home, that we were able to do something lovely is absolutely amazing. So it's totally worth it for her to take on high-end in-home grazing table classes and displays because it's a marketing product and she gets like so much more from it. Not everybody can afford it. And she just sold 11 $200 boards in between because of it. That's great, right? And so that's the reason why you always want to look at the mini mix. And when you break it down in that spreadsheet in the beginning, Ashley, do brain dumps and then go back in with the finer details is how I would do it. We all learn differently. Do it another way. I also want to say something about making a profit, you guys. I say over and over that it's not important or that money is not the only way that we measure success, but it's the most specific and tangible way that we measure success. And one of the things that I learned a long time ago that's so obvious, but I want to share with you guys because it was profound for me, is to tell you that it is your job, it is your responsibility to make money on every single unit that you sell. Figure out how to make that. You have a responsibility to your staff, to your stakeholders, to yourself, and to your customers. You have to make money on everything that you do. You make more, you make less, but you have to make money. So figure out your food cost. Okay, I think I'm good on my soapbox there about food costing. It's one of my favorite things in the whole wide world to talk about. So thank you, Ashley. Amin, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name. That's embarrassing because I have a weird name too. But it looked like you had a question.
No, I'm good. It's Amin. Yeah.
Amin.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. But you're good. It looked like you plugged yourself. You don't have any questions. Tell me about your business.
It's a cafe, but it's always all of these challenges. Like like you're touching on every aspect of them, and it's all needed. And especially with this pandemic, I mean, you tend to stretch yourself and left and right, and something will be missed. So trying to cap everything into a system or in a model is the right way. And so we'll see how it works.
Okay, everything is stretched thin, and you're trying to see how it works.
Yeah, I mean, definitely need to get to the basic, back to the basics. Maybe this is like a 6 steps model, something like that, and follow that.
Yeah, I would think that that's super important and super helpful, right? If getting back to that kind of 6 step, you guys. So that's actually great. I mean, if I can go ahead and just riff off of what you just shared with me. So it's all of these things. He's stretched thin. He has a cafe. Where does he start? I mean, he's kind of drinking from the fire hose, right? Like, where does he start and how does he get things going? How does he get back on track? Well, off the cuff. Like I would come up. Yeah, let's go off the cuff. If you're stretched thin and you don't know what to do first, figure out what your break even is. What is your bottom line, your monthly net that you absolutely have to have? What is your rent? What is know what that is? Then that will tell you, remember that's one of 4 parts in your financial model. That will tell you that you need to then go and figure out how much you need to make. If you know what your monthly operations or what manufacturing overhead is the term I was looking for. If you know what those are, that fixed cost, then you can build the rest of your financial model around it. And so he knows that he has $10,000 a month in manufacturing overhead. Then he needs also has to have $10,000 in cost of goods sold, $10,000 in labor to give him $3,000 worth of profit, because that's the minimum that he needs of it. Somewhere to find your financial model, right? And then you can build everything else. Well, somewhere you draw a line in the sand and you build everything else. So it turns out that he needs to bring in $33,000 a month in sales. And with that, he's only bringing in 28. So how is he going to get to 4,000? Does he reduce costs so that he has his overhead needs to be less, or does he increase sales? Well, that's a more refined picture of which it may be. Like we could figure that out if we were getting a more refined picture. I will always say increase sales as the first step. And if you can increase sales, the reason why it's important to increase sales as the first step is because if you have customers, you're doing great. Incremental sales are so much easier and better than going out and getting new customers. So if you have people that are coming in, basically upsell them, right? I mean, think of the equivalent of like getting an appetizer, a drink, or dessert. What is it that you can do? Can you get them to come back more frequently? Can they take a muffin home with them? Can they have their paper delivered? Like, what is it about your cafe? So know your financial model, right? Determine that back of the envelope. I mean, not ultimately, I'm always going to ask for refined financials, but if you want to have back of the envelope, just to start, you're drinking from the fire hose, do this rough model. And the same thing, do a rough model of your brand. Why am I coming to your cafe over another cafe? Why should I come back there? What do I love about it? Not all cafes for the same people. What are the core values? What's amazing about your brand or your cafe? What is your unique selling proposition? It's called a USP, right? So what is your USP that has people coming back? That's what I would look at is overview. And then from that, make sure that then your product is amazing. Are your lattes hot or are they lukewarm? And you know how you find out? Just go try one. Because it's so easy to, I don't know. You know, back in the day when we had cold salad plates, there would always very often be the dishwasher that would bring out hot plates from the back, from the dish machine, stick them in the refrigerator. And then the salad person, because that's where they get cold. And then the salad person would open the door, take a hot plate and put salad on it. It wasn't even just neutral, it was hot. And it was supposed to be a cold salad plate, right? There's things that we miss all the time because we do our own business. And we get accustomed to it. We don't step back and like think about, how is this going to work? Right? So check your tripod of success and you can do broad strokes and then you can get more refined. I don't know why I use tires as so many examples, but I do. It's like when you change a tire, right? And you put the lug nuts on, you don't do one lug nut all the way down super tight. You crank it a little bit at a time. Like you put all 4 lug nuts on, you shrink it a little bit, you go back, you tighten a little bit more, you tighten a little bit more. So it's the same kind of thing, right? Go back to your tripod of success or your financial model or your brand model. Who else, you guys? What do you got? Talk to me. Nothing? Okay. Then if we got nothing, I'm going to ask, what is it that you wanted out of this webinar? What did you get? And what, above all, what are your next steps? What is it that you're going to take away from this? And what are you going to do? And how is it going to impact your business? Anybody? How you're going to move forward and what this is going to do for your business? Hi, Betsy. You're muted. There you go.
Yeah, I was just waiting to see if anybody else
Okay.
had a question or, oh, there's Amin. Go ahead, Amin.
Yeah, just can you recap the question? What
are you going to do? what did you take away from this, and how can you, how is it going to impact your business? What are you going to implement in your business?
Well, basically, it's almost like I need to go back and kind of create a checklist or a system and just stick to it. And maybe I need to like work with my assistant or work with the chef, and saying these are all important aspects we need to take care of it. Whether that be a marketing on the brand, as example, because it's part of your tripod. It is it equal as the food, and when we present the food in a nice way, we also need to look at the how much cost of that. Are we putting more chicken in the sandwich or not? So we need
Right.
kind of to look at it as a cycle, and for in every step to remind ourselves to stick to the basic fundamental principles.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Sounds great. So you're going to go back and look at broad strokes and look at the principles and see how that works. Awesome. Okay. Well, you guys have the handout. You have a ton of resources. There are COVID resources also on my website that I didn't mention. You can go there on my homepage. That you can just hit COVID resources, and there's a list of things there. You have the private group. You can Instagram, DM is the fastest way to get in touch with me. And you have this workbook, which will give you what you need to do in order to follow through and implement the 6-step process with the 5 R's and the tripod of success into your business.
Now, Deegan, a little earlier you talked about the financials, the extra financial information that you had that you could share. Do you want me to just email that to everyone with us today, or?
I have, tell me financial model. What did I say? Help me.
I just made a note that I just said the financials info that you had an additional handout or something. I might have misunderstood. I just want to
No,
make.
ma'am, I don't think you didn't.
If you had something, or folks can reach out to you absolutely individually, but I'd be happy.
You know what? I know. Okay. You just had to rattle my brain.
Okay.
It's right here in front of me. I am so sorry. You know what? It's called the Financial Recipe Book. It's a cookbook, actually. It's called the Financial Model Cookbook. I can absolutely send that out. I would need to, yes. That just gives terms and conditions and stuff like that. Is anybody interested in that? Who is interested in that? If anybody's interested in it, please feel free to reach out to either me or Betsy, and we're happy to get that to you.
Okay. Oh, good. Yeah, they're typing in. Wonderful. And also, guys, remember to, get your sales back on our website and apply. I know I do recognize some of the names on here today. You guys have already applied to the Careers program. So the possibility we can get you that specialized individual consulting and counseling with Deegan and other specialists that we are going to pay for. So please fill out those applications, and we'll see how else we can help you guys. But at this point, if nobody has any other questions or, wants to even, oh, yes, Miss Deegan.
I'm like, okay, let's go. And then I'm like, wait, I have something to say. So I often do something called What's Next Wednesday or Fun Fact Friday. What's Next Wednesday is something, and Ashley, thank you so much for your question about, I just saw it. We talked about it, but I just saw it. If your product ingredients are constantly changing, how do you go about pricing them? I'm going to do a What's Next Wednesday live in the next couple of weeks on that. I will do, and I'll put it, it'll be a 10 to 15 minute, really specific seminar on that of like, how do you build that model? Because you are not the only one that has that problem. And so what you do is you build it into categories like we talked about, but I will certainly do that. The other thing is, as Betsy said, I completely forgot. I didn't completely forget. I concentrate on content while she concentrates on the background. I was an advisor with the SBDC as part of my business model, because I believe part of my business model is giving back, for 9 years. And I've spent a lot of time with the SBDCs, and I presented both on a smaller scale and regionally on the state and on the national level, that SBDCs are amazing resources for you guys. You're here, so you may know that, but I would want to say, like, this is the SBDCs are the go-to places that you can find incredible resources to help you grow your business and different people. Like, you can hop back and forth between different counselors. If you want to talk about marketing, you can go talk to a marketing specialist. You can find, and there's CARES Act, that is basically taking care of so much of this. So if you have a need, reach out and look for an opportunity to help get that need met. Please do not suffer in silence. These are your tax dollars at work. Absolutely reach out and try and find somebody. And I know that there are there's financial seminars, there's all different kinds of seminars. Find somebody. There are many people that can work for you, certainly not just me. So there you go. Those are the last things that I wanted to jump in on. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's okay.
Thank you for indulging me that.
Absolutely. Well, you guys, thank you very much. You will be receiving an evaluation shortly, so we greatly appreciate it if you take the time to fill that out. It's very simple, but obviously it helps us continue to bring programs like this for y'all, and we just need your input and your responses. They really do matter to us, and we look forward to seeing how else we can help you. Just reach out. We appreciate it. Y'all take care.
Thank you so very much, you guys. Bye-bye.